Got it on front camera so it looks like I'm looking off to one side the entire time. Caramba. Well, it's though that I lost my voice first thing in the morning, and it's kind of coming back now. I still sound a little bit like so of course with that in mind, it seems like the best time to record a piece to camera for a video review of the Majority Everest soundbar. Gosh, I look completely awful. Maybe I should tone down the ring light a little bit. So behind me we've got the little satellite speakers peeking out there. They are actually wireless, which is cool. They basically pull off at the end of the soundbar, and they have chonking great big batteries in them, and you just sit them behind you and turn them on, and they seem to go to sleep after a while of not being used, which I originally interpreted as a battery running out. So what the world was that? So I kept recharging them over and over again, but I reckon if I go over them now, they've been in use throughout the day. I should probably boot still turn on. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So before I go any further into reviewing a surround sound speaker, I should probably mention that I am in fact deaf in my right side. Not just slightly deaf or even a smidge deaf. I am completely, utterly hopeless at kind of positional audio and directly hearing. So my brain, it will position a sound where it thinks a sound is coming from, which has a variety of interesting effects. So if it's something that I know is happening like a dishwasher, then it'll be over by the dishwasher. But if it's a sudden random sound, then my brain will either position it on what it thinks is coming from to amusing effects, or it will just put it out spatially nowhere, which is also really bizarre. But the spatially nowhere and the feeling of being surrounded by a sound is something that these do incredibly well. I can't hear directional audio, so I don't know how it works or how this effect comes into play, but with the speakers at the back, the subwoofer, and the I think there's a central speaker and two of the left and right speakers in the soundbar, and it fills the room with audio. And this is quite a big living room, so it's a fairly profound effect when you're sitting kind of center stage. You really get that feeling of being immersed in the sound, which is actually incredibly handy for me, because if I'm not surrounded by audio, I have to have subtitles on basically 100% of the time so I can tell what people are saying. So it's cool, The effect is really quite amazing. So this thing is a Dolby 5.1 surround sound, which means it has your center speaker, your left and right speakers, your rear satellite speakers, and of course the subwoofer, which is down there. And the subwoofer is also wireless, just like the Majority K2, which I actually used for something like 6 months now as the only speaker for my Yamaha Mod X keyboard. So I have the soundbar sat behind the keyboard and the subwoofer wirelessly on the right, and it's really handy because you can just stick the subwoofer in the corner of the room out of the way. Or I bought someone a K2 actually, and they stuck the subwoofer kind of behind the furniture in the corner of the room where it would be unobtrusive because there was nowhere else sensible to place it. It means you don't have to faff about running wires for stuff. It's the same with these, and the great thing about the whole wireless setup is that the only thing you ever need to unplug fully and move for flipping your room to a projector, because I've been prepping this wall like a bouse. I don't know why I said that, it's a cringe. I've been sanding and painting and filling this wall. It still looks terrible, it's still terrible. It's a 1950s house. I'm never gonna get this wall smooth without paying a plasterer to come in and skim it. It's just not happening. But I've been sanding this wall down, prepping it ready for a projector setup, so I can take these tweeters and put them over that side. I can take the soundbar and put it there. The sub is non-directional, so I can just leave it where it is and kind of flip the room around and have a home cinema setup. So yeah, the wireless tweeters, wireless subwoofer, amazing, very, very good. For someone like me who has no interest whatsoever in actually physically mounting speakers to the wall and having a real home theatre setup, real, quote unquote, and there isn't really anywhere sensible to mount them. There's a window there, just avoid there where the rest of the living room is, and the viewing area is kind of this square that has no sensible sides for mounting speakers. So being able to just stick them on this shelving unit back here, that's actually a IKEA Kallax arrangement that we've set up back there. There we go. So that's going to have the projector in the middle. And of course the 5.1 surround means that now Netflix shows with a little 5.1 in the details at the top. It still looks like I'm looking off to the side. It's very disturbing. You're just going to have to bear with me on this one. Maybe if I do this, it'll look a bit less strange. Okay. Yeah, so any Netflix shows with the 5.1 surround, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, we've been watching on these, of all things, you'll get the stereo separation and the weird rear effects from the tweeters, or so they're satellite speakers, or so I've been told. I can't actually tell directionally where it's coming from, which is pretty damn cool. Also the subwoofer is just with the intro music with the big bass line going in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's been hammering away to the point where I've had to turn it down just a little bit, lest the neighbours come around and go, oh, what's that noise? What are you doing, mate? Are you just standing there on a keyboard going yeah, so I don't really remember what else I'm supposed to cover off in this review schedule, but basically the soundbar is connected to my TV via HDMI, which is the ARC, which is it's sort of a data connection over HDMI cables, which allows the TV to send not only the audio signal, which you'd normally expect from HDMI anyway, but also control, so that when I hit up and down on the remote, the speaker will turn the volume up and down, which you kind of expect. There's a slight issue with that I'm waiting for some further information on, is that when you turn the volume up or down and you're connected by ARC, neither my TV nor the speaker seem to want to display a volume level. It's perhaps some disagreement over which is responsible for the volume when a speaker's connected by ARC or something else, who knows. But it means that volume's a little bit airy-fairy, and you kind of just got to push up or down until you get to the point where you want it. Which is fine, it's livable. So it's got HDMI ARC. It also had optical. I had an optical cable set up and connected at first, but the problem with that, with my television set in particular, is I have to go and physically disable the internal speakers. It doesn't auto detect the optical cable because it can't. Optical is just one way it fires the audio data out into the speaker. It works, it sounds great. Have to disable the TV's internal speakers because they'll be ever so slightly out of sync with the sound that's going over the optical. In fact, with this soundbar, it wasn't as much out of sync as with the Baufel Plus that I also tested, where the audio was noticeably out of sync with the speakers. With this one, it was actually quite good, but you don't need the TV speakers also on at the same time as having a full speaker system set up, or it'll just completely ruin the sound stage. Sound weird. So yeah, HDMI ARC is the way to go. Optical works if that's your only option. If you've used all your HDMI ports, it's fine, it will work. Again, as with the Baufel Plus, you can plug a USB stick of audio into the back of the speaker, and you just stick your MP3s on there, switch to that with the remote, and it'll fire up, it will start playing the last song as it left off. It's actually pretty good. So if you want to use the soundbar as a completely detached and independent from your TV sound system, then that's absolutely great. It works really well. Just plug your USB. If you have MP3s, probably do. I got a few from Bandcamp and a few grabbed from SoundCloud that I'll just stick onto a USB stick, stick it in the back, and then flip over and away. The music starts playing, no fussing about like you do browsing Spotify trying to find the perfect playlist. It just works. And of course, there's also multi-point Bluetooth on this speaker as well, so you connect your phone via Bluetooth and you can start playing music as you would to Bluetooth headphones, which means any app you've got on your phone. Brilliant. And also, when you're connected via Bluetooth, even if you're playing a song via YouTube or YouTube Music or whatever, you can press the previous and next buttons on the remote, and that will flip to the previous and next track or the next video or whatever. It's really handy. So you can just kind of plonk your phone down, sit down with the remote, skip between videos. You're probably not going to sit down and leave your phone on the side, let's be real. But it works, it's quite cool. Then it's got your standard auxiliary in, your 3.5mm TRS jack, and it also has like your hi-fi connection, your RCA, so it's got your red and your white independent RCA jacks for your stereo audio from your hi-fi system. If you've got a hi-fi system, you probably, I don't know, probably already got speakers, maybe, I don't know. But it's there if you need it, it's handy. And that is pretty much it for the Everest. It's a fantastic soundbar for the price. I've looked. Probably different now. There's Black Friday running and there'll be deals all over the place. But I had a look and there are few and far between that even have wireless speakers and wireless subwoofers, much less ones that are the price of the Everest. I mean, it's Majority. They may be a relatively unknown brand to a few, but they're really kind of hitting it out of the park. The K2 is a brilliant little soundbar. I bought it for someone as a gift. It was just the cheapest option with a wireless subwoofer I think I could find at the time, and it's been great. It's been screwed to the wall in the living room and it's still running fine as far as I know. And basically the detachable tweeters, so these, I forgot to mention, the tweeters, to charge them, it comes with 2 micro USB power supplies that you can plug into the wall. So if you don't want to run them with a battery at all, you can plug them in back there. It'll be fine. You can run them from the AC, or you pull the base off the bottom of the satellite speaker and you just connect it to the end of the soundbar, and in fact you can run the speakers connected to the end of the soundbar. It's completely the wrong place for satellite speakers, but you get the extra sound coming at you. If you're playing stereo audio, then it's fine. But yeah, you pull the base off, you slot them onto the end of the soundbar. They have some little contacts in the end, so they connect to and charge from the soundbar. They don't get audio signal through those contacts. There's only 2, so presumably they're power only. But they'll get their audio signal wirelessly, just as they always do, but they'll just also be powered from and charged from the end of the soundbar. And when you're not using the speakers, let's have a look, see. Oh dear, they're here. Excuse me, still got a bit of throat thing. In fact, while we're doing this, while we're up and about, and we're wrapping this up, so a little closer look at one of these things. So I tried to take one of these apart. It would not come apart. I can't tell you how big the battery is, but they claim a runtime. God, it's really fingerprinty. They claim a runtime of 8 hours, which seems pretty on a par with what I've been seeing. That's a continuous runtime, so you can watch a few movies back to back in theory. These are still turning on and running, and I've had these sitting here all day, or yesterday in fact, without being charged up. So they're not, as you might imagine, a complete and total nuisance to constantly charge. And they're quite big and hefty as well, so there could be a fair amount of battery in there. I just can't tell you how much because I can't get them open. Believe me, I tried. It was didn't go far. They're potted around the front with black potting compound. So anyway, there are the contacts, 2 little pin contacts in the bottom there for charging. You've got the R for the right one there, and then the base just completely fumbled that now. Just slots on quite easily actually when you're paying attention. And when you're not connecting them to the speaker, the end of the soundbar even, there's these little blanking plates. And the blanking plates just onto the end of the soundbar and hide the little contacts, protect them from sticky fingers and whatnot. And just make it all look sleek and professional finished. And in fact, the wall mounting kit for the soundbar has these little standoffs, so you can route your HDMI cable and the stuff behind it, which was a big problem I had with the K2 and with the Battlefield Plus, is that you can't really get the cables behind it when it's wall mounted unless you stand it off the wall. So for the one that I set up for the person I bought it for, used Toslink and just kind of ran it out because it's a small slim bendy cable and the power's a small slim bendy cable, and that was fine. We couldn't use HDMI ARC because the HDMI cable wouldn't fit, whereas with this you get there's a lot of room behind there, the ports are quite recessed anyway, but B, they stand off from the wall quite far, so you can get your HDMI ARC connection. Ideally you would cut a channel up into the wall, which is what we had when we moved in for power, but I neglected to put any connections for, what is that banging noise? I neglected to put any connections in for sound or for Ethernet, for anything else really, to run it up and down the wall. So It is what it is. I probably won't wall mount it because I want to move it to the back of the room periodically for projector fun times. Okay, so there's that. Pretty much wraps it up. Can't tell you how much battery these have, but they do run for a significant amount of time. Pretty decent. Haven't had a problem with them yet. And you can just plug them into the soundbar last thing at night or whatever to charge them up. It's a great kit. It really thrums, very bassy, very nice. You get adjustment on the remote, which I should also grab while I'm up and about. Oh dear, making a fool of myself. Buried up here. I put a shelf up behind my television to hide all the Steam Deck and controller and the Meta Quest is up there and stuff as well. So just to stop it getting toddlered. So that is the remote, which is going to really gleam off the there. And it has independent volume control for the subwoofer, the satellite speakers, the tweeters, and the center. So that's quite cool. You can turn down the bass a little bit if it's getting a bit intense. And then it's got individual buttons for all the various different inputs and some EQ presets for music, news, and movie. Never going to use those. Absolutely despise EQing anything. I like to keep it as flat as possible, but hey, it is what it is. So this video, as of recording, is running on almost 20 minutes now, which is excessively long for a video review. So maybe I'll cut out some rambling, who knows, or you'll just have sat through 20 minutes of this nonsense. If you did, thank you very much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, connect to the thing, follow me on Twitter, visit my website 50 times a day, and all the other stuff that people need to do now so that poor tech people like me can stay relevant and people will think we're popular and send us stuff because I like stuff. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.